There's only a guy like Buddy Bolton that comes along once in a lifetime. He's an amazing guy. This is the first time we actually had a face-to-face talk. We've chatted a couple times on Twitter, but Buddy's the real deal. He looks out for people, he helps people, and he does it all for free, for the love. Of course, he accepts donations, and that's how he gets by. So hook him up, help him out, and listen to this, and you're going to learn something. Buddy's amazing, and you're going to see why. I just don't want to lose anything because I appreciate every second you give me, man. And thank you so much.
My pleasure. And I also just want to say really quickly, I think, people like you who bring this, this understanding and this inquisitiveness and this intelligence to the topic is really important right now. A lot of people are just coming to the topic and they need to hear people like you. They need to know that it's, they need people like you, more people like you, and less people with the absolutely outrageous, meeting intergalactic ducks and all sorts of weird stuff that freaks them out. And turns them away from these topics.
But yeah, there's the whole spectrum, man. I mean, there's the guy that I was on. I've been 20 years and back, and I was on at Blue Chickens, and I was right. It's like, I don't know. I mean. And I think what from it was in my family, my mom, my dad, it was like they believed. They didn't tell me it was bullshit. There was like, my dad had these experiences like, this is real. So when you grow up like that, you're like, this is real. And then when you interact with the rest of society, they're like, what do you mean? And I didn't feel like I had to sell it to anybody. And I didn't feel like I had to like make them believe what I was believing. I was just like, look, this is what I believe. My dad had these, like, this is legit. This is what he feels. And this is what he was. And, most people were cool. They're like, yeah, all right. That's cool. They weren't like, put you in the corner and forget about you. They were just like, all right, you're passionate about it. And unfortunately or fortunately, I've been like that my whole life. At some point I'm be like, hey, you know about UFOs? Do you know about all these things that are going on in the world and that are happening? And they're like, yeah, and, I don't know. My mom always told me, and I never understood this. We talked about our moms. My mom always believed in me and everything I did. And there was one time I must have been like 13 or 14. And she took me to the video store. Remember the video stores? You'd go into the video store, or like have all the movies. Yeah. I'd walk in there and I'm hanging out with my mom and, it was a Friday night or whatever. And I walked in and it was just all girls behind the counter. And I walked in, they're like, hey. And my mom's just looking at me and she's looking at me the whole time. And all these girls are just following us around. I'm like, what's going on? And like they came up to the counter and they walked out and my mom was like, you don't understand what that was? And I'm like, no. She's like, every girl in that place came to you. Every girl like showed up and was hanging out. And I'm like, okay. So she kind of like just fed to me like, you have you have this weird confidence that works and just use it and do it. So I love my mom and she's the best. She's always been there. She's been super rad. Just like helped me out through this whole thing. Just, I don't know, man. I started.
That support is so important. And I've spoken to quite a few experts and a lot of them say that this psi thing comes through the mom gene. And I've heard it time and time again. And people say that, Uri Geller and so many of these psychics and well-known ones say that they attribute it to their mothers who had a very intense natural intuition and intuitive abilities. And you can imagine evolutionarily, I don't know if this is the case or not, but you can imagine, the men going out hunting, doing their thing, and the women had to protect the kids.
Well, yeah.
With every ounce of ability they had, and that little extra bit of intuition might just have been the thing that saved the family and saved the genetic line. And so that, intuitive ability got concentrated like, they do with foxes in Russia, the breeding of the foxes. It kind of intensified that intuitive ability. And my mom had like stunning, annoying intuitive abilities.
Did she?
I couldn't get away with anything.
No.
I couldn't get away with anything.
Are you serious?
I remember skipping school. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Off the charts. And she did amazing things. She really changed society. She founded the first rape treatment center in the country.
Wow.
Still named after her at a hospital in Florida, in South Florida. And she's just done so many amazing things, founded Citizens Crime Watch. She passed away a few years ago, but
I'm sorry,
there's so many hilarious stories. Yeah, that was a crusher. there's so many hilarious stories about her saying something outrageous was going to happen to me, and it did. Like, it was just ridiculous. She, one time I was skipping school, and somehow the school called her and said, buddy's skipping school, and I'm underneath. There's a car, a road, and there's no sight that it's really a bridge. South Florida has a lot of canals, and this canal runs through the road.
Yeah.
And I'm underneath that road, smoking pot with, one of my friends in 11th grade or something like that. And we're looking up and around, and I hear, buddy. And I look up and how the fuck did mom find me here? There's no way that she could have found me. But she did.
She found you smoking weed underneath a bridge in South Florida.
Absolutely. And she would say things like, buddy, you've got to drink cranberry juice. You have to drink. I'm like, Mom, I'm not 80. I don't have to worry about my kidneys. At the time, I was just in college, and she's like, you have to drink cranberry juice. And 3 weeks later, I get kidney stones. And I'm writhing in pain. And of course, the first thing they tell me after I passed these, it was gravel is what they were calling it, was you need to drink cranberry juice. I was like, Mom!
Oh, man.
And as a kid, she supported it. She said, predictive dreams, premonitions happen all the time, and you have to trust your instinct and your gut. Your gut will tell you something first, and you got to trust that. And, all these things that we now know are a lot of the keys for, getting more accuracy from these abilities.
And she was on it. Did she realize that did she realize it was an extra ability at that point, though? I mean, did she realize that, and she was trying to instill that in you, or was it just her way?
I think so. But she didn't think of it like we do now. I just think it was just accepted. It was just accepted as something she knew, but not something like the X-Men Junior or anything like that. It was very, straightforward, and it was just treated as normal. And
it was just every day. It was an everyday thing. It wasn't it wasn't yeah.
Nothing that was belabored or anything, but
right.
She definitely made a point to let me know, that these things are real and they work, but didn't get too much into other stuff, didn't get too much into, psychokinesis or anything like that. And, always kind of encouraged me achieving. She always would say, no, don't help, buddy. Let him achieve. And that little quote gave me a lot of tenacity.
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I did a lot of research. I've talked to some awesome people in my life, and I've been really fortunate. I started talking to Haley Ramsey's great. She's young, but she's a really great researcher and archaeologist. And, she's been going down the line, the divine feminine, and how it ties to Freemasonry and how it ties to a Knights Templar, and basically just goes throughout history. And, she thinks that, the Templar, the Grail was a woman, and they were trying to protect the woman, the divine feminine, things like that. And that, one of the things she told me, which is great, and I started doing research on it, was that, most of your DNA, it comes from your mom. Your RNA comes from the female side of your lineage, where I always was under the impression that it was my dad's side. If your dad was bald, you're going to be bald. Your grandpa was bald, all those things. And she's like, no. She's like, and then even in kingships and in things historically was based on the female side, because if you think back, when the woman would give birth, you would see the baby. You'd be like, oh, okay, so that came out of that lady, but you can't really pinpoint who the father was. Really, you can't really, where the baby came from out of that woman. So all of the lineage was tied to the female side of it, and it was like, wow, that makes a whole bunch of sense. So the same kind of line is that, if the lineage and all the special traits and everything is, and we know for a fact now scientifically that all of the traits are passed down from the female side of it, what is that? Why is that? Well, because the divine feminine, the female, the woman has the powers, and it's passed down, right?
And it goes so deep too. If you look at some of the oldest sculptures in the proto-religions, they had all these mother goddess sculptures that you find out, the earliest sculptures, the very earliest signs of religion. And they have these wonderful feminine curves and big bellies on these, ancient, 10,000-year-old, sculptures and clay models and everything. And, in so many ways, that maternal instinct, the thing that makes up moms, they don't just make holidays happen, but that maternal thing is about empathy. It's about resonance. It's about being open to things, where so much about men is, being, kind of closed off and strong and protective.
Macho,
And
right. Yeah, like tough
exactly.
guy.
And women always had that little extra bit of trickery. They didn't have the muscles, but they had to cultivate their, other senses. And boy, they really run things, the ladies run things.
Oh yeah, and I wish they would take over. I've said this a couple of times, like take back over, because we've messed it up for a real long time. guys that injected ourselves at some point, and even through the priest, the Catholic Church and all those things with the priestly class and all that, and we've tried to bifurcate that from the women's side, to try to preserve our dominance or whatever the point was, but we've fucked it up for a long time now. So I'm more than welcome to have them come back in and help out. Take over.
We need it now more than ever, to care about our Mother Earth. This planet is going through a mass extinction, the 6th mass extinction that the biosphere on this planet has gone through. And, maternally, that's horrific. But terrible. As a guy, it's about, conquering and resources and doing amazing things. And I'm not saying that the paternal side is negative. We've needed sociopaths in our evolution as much as we've needed empaths.
Right.
And they haven't, humans have such a broad spectrum of abilities and enlightenment and character traits and everything. And I used to be very down on the negative traits and the sociopaths. I just couldn't understand how someone could kill another person or be greedy and selfish at the expense of nature or others. But we've needed those people and those traits, some of, within our, group or tribes and communities and cities to, evolve further. But now we've gotten to a place with technology and the nature of, the crashing biosphere of this planet, and we're on the cusp of going out into space, where we really need to accept a whole new gigantic series of responsibilities if we are to preserve this very special thing we've realized is special. And, if we are truly being visited by extraterrestrials, which I'm highly convinced of, there's a lot of things going on. They're intelligent enough to be able to assume a lot of things from a distance without us even knowing it. But our biosphere and other things here are so unique and so precious that they're here. Yeah. And that tells us something about ourselves and how special we are.
Well, that's one of the things I've touched. That's great that you brought that up, because I've heard this before, and the source is escaping me, but the message is this: that somehow humans, us here on Earth, have an innate ability that's precious in the galaxy or everywhere. For some reason, we are special, and we're researched and studied, and we're trying to be. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the word. We're like kind of like.
I don't think it's just humans, though.
No.
I think it's our whole biosphere, because it's a system. We like to think of ourselves as human, as separate and isolated from, the whole biosphere, but we can't survive without it. We can't survive with all the little bugs and animals that are inside of us. It's
correct.
A whole synergy. And the
so
more
Earth itself, our biosphere is Earth, right?
It's really precious. And it makes you believe that, the creator, or wherever you think of how the universe works, is so dynamic in its expressions on different worlds that can create life, that the outcomes of all these different events that happen with, biological systems can be so varied and so different that evolution can produce a wide variety, so much variance that extraterrestrials of a certain intelligence can't pre-calculate all the possibilities. They actually are surprised by stuff and have to come and literally get samples. And
because they're like, what is this? This doesn't fit into our model. What is going on here, right?
And so much must be similar around the universe, of course. Bipedalism and symmetry and all these other things have uses. We see, how the universe is very fractal and reproduces efficient methods and means at all sorts of different scales. You see spirals from the smallest things to the largest structures in the universe.
Right, totally.
And there's this repetition of effective means of accomplishing things. And so, as we learn more in the future about other races and stuff, we're going to see a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. And those similarities are going to allow us to connect with, our brothers and sisters and other weirdos that are in the universal rainforest.
Sometimes I think I'm one of the weirdos that just happen to be here.
Yeah, me too. I think I'm one too, for sure.
It's like, how did I end up here, and what do I have to do now? What's going on?
And it all seems so scripted sometimes. It just seems so extraordinary. And I've been so blessed, especially in the past 7 years, to see and experience things that so few have. And work with amazing scientists and groups. And I've seen things, and I've been blessed to see these things with groups of people and scientists and stuff where if I would have seen it alone, like so many people do, you could doubt your own sanity. You could doubt, what you're really seeing. Did someone slip me acid or something? Or
right.
And that blessing that I've had has really allowed me to advance and help with some of the research. I've worked with a lot of the top names and government groups and agencies and all sorts of different people. And right now doing some absolutely, wacky doodle stuff, but it's so, and I want to clarify too, that, a lot of people claim things, but you can research and find out I have done these things. You can speak to the different scientists. I have done these things. I have worked with the, SkinWalker team for 3 years. I've worked with, scientists from big, groups and agencies and aerospace companies and it's not really me. I think so much of it feels kind of scripted.
You feel like you're just playing a role then.
Now someone who's been an actor in so many ways, I think that, I think we've all felt a little weird in our bodies.
Yeah.
Like this weird, stinky, it just seems weird. And especially when you're younger, you realize, how foreign the body is and that something else lives on past this body and has a tiny connection to the past experiences. And, I have this belief in the great oneness. Our universe is unquestionably something, as opposed to nothing. And this somethingness reflects on itself through consciousness.
Sure.
And I have the a distinct feeling that I'm experiencing the universe as Buddy. And through this perspective. And in that way, the great oneness is seeing the universe through this perspective, getting to know itself. But I also feel like I'm Shaq, and I also feel like I'm Carrot Top. And I also, I can relate to these other people and circumstances. And also when I see a bird dip and dive and swoop and do these amazing things, I think, gosh, I can almost feel that,
Right. Yeah, that's buddy. That's what when I was a real young, and even up to this day, I have this weird overarching empathy that I have to control. That's I mean, I didn't realize it when I was young that's what it was. It would just things would upset me, and I would have this great empathy towards things that I didn't understand. Like I remember, I must have been 4. But I watched an American Tail, the Disney movie with, the Fievel and, he's lost his family and all that stuff. And I got so upset. I started crying and my stomach started hurting and I got freaked out. And it was with just my dad and I, and my mom was at work. My stomach hurts and he was just really worried about me. And I'm like, I'm so upset. Thinking back, 40 years later, I realized that it was just the empathy for this character that I saw in a movie, but I go through this time, like in all of these things where I think, oh, my life sucks, or, my life sucks, but like, oh, this sucks. This is a bad day or whatever. And I'll see a kid that's in a wheelchair, or I'll see a blind, a kid or a person. And I'll be like, yeah, man, I suck at life. Like this person is enjoying their entire existence in a capacity that's nowhere near what I'm at. And it literally happens like right then. It's like all of a sudden this person's in front of me and I'm like, fuck,
It's like the universe. I get this overwhelming sense, and not just from this personal feeling, from a bunch of other things I've been involved with, that so much of it seems scripted. It seems so ironic. And, people like us are empathetic people. We're mama's boys, but that's also been our superpower. We weren't built super muscular and tough, and that wasn't our place. Our place, we could befriend the big, super tough, strong guy, and that thereby we were safe, or make them laugh or whatever. And therefore, we didn't have to spend all the time, in a tanning machine and on the weights. We could spend time, watching wacky movies and doing, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that empathy is such a blessing, and I'm so thankful for it. That ability to, when you have two tuning forks, one tuning fork is literally resonating, empathizing, making a connection with the other one where they both can vibrate at the same frequency. And together, when they do that empathy, that resonance, that harmonic, it's exchanging energy across previous barriers.
Right.
And that's what the whole nature of remote viewing is. That's the whole nature of the ESP experience, of psychokinesis, of prayer for healing, of so much of the consciousness gift, of resonating with other life forms. And so much of what CE5 is about. And so, everyone talks about consciousness being that nexus, between all these strange things. We know UFOs and phenomena share some very unique, distinct characteristics. We know that UFOs mirror the observers.
Yeah, which is amazing, isn't it?
It's totally amazing. Let me just share a couple more of these little things that they do, that both do. And with phenomena, like you can go to strange locations like a haunted house or SkinWalker, and they'll tell you about the phenomena mirroring them. If you come in with a militaristic standpoint, you'll get militaristic responses. If you come with a loving, caring nature, you'll see beautiful craft or, a bizarre, colorful light show, these beautiful things. And then aside from mirroring, both things share other unique little weird characteristics like precognizance. UFOs seem to know what you're going to do next.
Right.
Fravor talked about the UFO knowing where their waypoint was going to be.
Yeah.
And you hear this throughout UFO history. The same problem Bigelow spoke about with SkinWalker many times, about the dang phenomena knew what we were going to do and could outsmart us.
Yeah.
And then the other effect, this is just 3 of these unique effects, is the hitchhiker phenomena. People who see and observe UFOs have other weird experiences shortly thereafter for a while. And if you go to like SkinWalker Ranch or haunted houses and other instances, the thing follows you.
Right. But does it follow you though, buddy? We talked about this kind of a little bit, but do you think it does, or do you think that it's always been there and then you just tune into it?
What else mirrors you? What else is precognizant of you? What else what else follows you home? You do.
That's it.
Your consciousness.
Yeah, your consciousness.
You know that consciousness is the nexus of these bizarre things. And if you look at the AATIP results, after 10 years of studying the best military UFO cases, they came up with a list of vulnerabilities that was accidentally leaked by Chris Mellon.
Yeah,
Slide 9.
Slide 9, like could just go walk through walls, could be there at any point, just do whatever, right?
All these
complete sensor destruction, or whatever, right? Just
instantaneous sensor disassembly.
That's it.
And that's a great one too. A lot of people don't know that not only have UFOs shut off the missiles when they were locked, or the gun cameras when locked, or the machine guns when locked, but they literally physically affected the systems. Also on submarines, also at nuclear sites.
Just shut it down. Like you couldn't launch a missile if you wanted to, is what Senator Reid said at one point. Like if we wanted to hit that button, it's not going to happen. And
not only because it put a bug in there or was able to hack, it literally disassembled, physically separated them.
Wow.
And Bigelow spoke about how they had cameras looking at their other cameras to see why they were getting ripped apart and stuff. And one camera had all this masking tape and wires. And in a second, boom, it was instantaneously disassembled. And with the other camera watching, and they couldn't even discriminate when. All they knew is they could tell at a certain point it was disassembled. And, this gives us some very deep insights into the powers of the mind.
Right.
And the whole UFO and phenomena issue now, and thank goodness we've been able to say yes as a government and as people, this something weird is happening.
Right.
This opens up all the next questions, and a few steps down the road, they'll be circling back to us who are in the consciousness field and work on these things, and say, okay, how does this fucking work? And I
But
believe
you've been in this game for a long time. So, I mean, like a long time, you know, I mean, like really a long time. And you kind of know. So they come and talk to you, right? I mean, they ask you, or people, associates or whatever, affiliations, but I mean, because who else are they going to talk to? They don't know. They're not talking to them. They're not talking to the government. Nobody's, I mean, they, you know, I mean, it's us, it's people.
And you know, we're experimenting, you know, on the limits of consciousness, what it can do. You know, there's tons of studies that talk about how prayer works.
Right.
And prayer is psychokinesis. Prayer is, you know, people have miraculous healings. And there's a lot of different factors that, you know, you have to be very realistic and balanced about this topic because it's very dynamic.
It is.
You know, a lot of this can be psychosomatic. It can be belief, but there's also something very special going on. Consciousness seems to be not separate from space-time, energy, and matter, not separate from our universe. It seems to be interwoven, where you can't really consider one without the other. You can't consider consciousness without space-time, matter, and energy, and you can't consider space-time, matter, and energy without a consciousness to observe it. It's meaningless.
Right.
So it's this tapestry, and that, you know, tapestry allows us to plug in and experience some things that just are boggling.
It's amazing. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Bill Bankston, Dr. Bill Bankston,
the Bankston Effect.
The Bankston Effect. I mean, that's just some of the most amazing things I've ever seen. You know, with the mice.
It's so much more amazing. There's stuff that if I told you, you just wouldn't freaking believe it. Some of this stuff is so outrageous. But here's a little example. The Hutchison Effect.
Right. The Hutchison Effect, yeah.
This is a guy has some really wacky old videos, and some of them look like they're totally faked or run backwards or whatever. But the top scientists at the time and since have studied his work and the stuff he's done. He's transmuted metals, and these metals are still transforming. These metals are labs all over the world. He's done incredible things with reality. Yeah. And a lot of people think it was the machines he was surrounded by. But those machines are just a magic feather. They're just a belief construct that allows you to believe even deeper that these things can happen, and therefore you can do it.
So you think that Hutchison is the guy, and not the machines and everything he's doing is not it? That he's the one doing it?
Absolutely. Dr. Hathaway said after researching for a long time, and others, that it was Hutchison's mind, his powerful mind. And there is something called a magic feather, and locations, objects, and all sorts of things can serve as a magic feather. And it's a literary element where the notion is a master gives a student a magic feather and says, you will be able to win this martial arts competition if you always keep this magic feather. And the kid's great. And then one day near the end of the story, there's like a big, you know, final world martial arts event, and the kid loses the magic feather. And the master says, it wasn't magic. It's just a stinking feather. You are the magic.
So, buddy, I'm sorry about to stop you, but I had this story come to me last week. I was with my brother-in-law. We were staying at my parents' house when I was 10, way out in the country. We needed a water well to be dug. We had a well and it was dry, and we looked all over the place. We got this guy who was like 90 years old. He was like they called him a water witch. You ever heard of these guys? It's like, of course. They have like it was a willow branch that was in the shape of like a dowsing rod, right? Yeah. This guy would walk around the yard, and you know he was hold this and would just fall, you know. And I'm like a kid, I'm like, well, these guys are just dropping this thing, you know. You just turn this thing. I'm like, bullshit. So the guy goes, come here, kid. I'm like, all right. He's like, hold on to the end of this. I'm like, all right. And he's like, well, walk with me. And he's 9 years old. And the guy that's with him is this kid or whatever. And he's like in his 40s or whatever. And he's just like, he's just kind of like, this doesn't happen, right? So I'm walking with this old man, and I'm holding this thing. And he's like, don't hold on too tight. So I'm holding on to it. And this thing fucking falls out of my hand, like literally. And he grabs it, and we both grab it as it falls down. And we're walking through the yard, other places, nothing's going on. And we get to the same spot again. This thing falls down. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, wow, this is it. And the guy looks at me. He's like, kid, you can do this now. And his son looks at me. He's like, he's never done that to me, and I've never seen him do that to anybody. And then he walked away, and I was like, what the fuck? But that literally came to me last week when I was at my parents' house, when I'm standing in front of the well. And I remember like, yeah, I remember the 90-year-old man that walked with me on this well. And I was like,
And even the stick is a magic feather. All these different things are magic feathers. And for Hutchison, his machines were a magic feather. Something that, and even SkinWalker Ranch itself is a magic feather.
You think so?
Houses, absolutely. Haunted houses are a magic feather. People say, "Oh, this house is haunted. It's been haunted for generations."
Yeah.
An Indian burial ground was here. And once you hear some of these things, you're like, "Oh, boom, I believe." And the key is that that belief system allows your subconscious, which is like a different person, and that person does not communicate well with the conscious you. It allows that subconscious connection to space-time, matter, and energy to be free and do powerful things.
Wow. So, buddy, how do you tap into it?
Well, you learn. There's a lot of techniques that you can learn.
Yeah, I mean, you can do this. Like, not me and you, but like everybody can do this, right? Like everybody.
Absolutely, everybody. And I teach people. And in fact, tonight I had a class I was going to teach with someone, but I wanted to do the show with you very much. And I just,
thank you, man. I'm sorry for those people, but let's bring them back. We'll do it all together.
It's a dear friend. And that friend, the very first class, she had like amazing results. And then the second class, she had amazing, stunning results. And you can look at people like Ingo Swan.
Right.
And Ingo Swan could not only definitely see distant spaces and times, but he could also physically affect them and touch them.
Wow.
So somehow and that's the same thing with prayer. Mm-hmm. That's another form of psychokinesis. A part of him is here, and a little bit of him is somewhere else. We're all connected to everything. Mm-hmm. You're never alone. If you're in the smallest little town and you think you can't affect the world and make it better, you can. You're connected to freaking everything. And you can develop these skills and these abilities. And people like Hutchison and many others have been studied at very high-end levels and have been able to reproduce some staggeringly amazing stuff.
So, buddy, when these people have been studied, and I've read, Kit Green and all these people in the government for 100, forever have been doing that, and then the caudate patenum, the part of the brain that has fired up, and all these other things, that's a physical. I hate to say deformity, but it's a physical. There's a differentiator between those people and other people, but. What we're saying is that's not the limit. There's definitely a part of every human on the planet that can do things that they're completely unaware of.
Yep. And, some people have a bunch of different characteristics that make them naturals and able to hit really high heights.
Well, so this is perfect because I've heard this too. It's like Michael Jordan can play basketball like anybody that ever, like better than anybody I've ever seen. I can go shoot a hoop. You and I could go play basketball, but Michael Jordan is like Michael Jordan, right? Same kind of deal with this thing, right? Some people are the Michael Jordans, Ingo Swans, like, Pat Price, like all these other people are the, the meccas of this thing. So,
and there's some real, let's talk about Kit Green's work a little bit for a second.
Yeah.
He spoke about prodigious savants being some of the best displayers of these characteristics. And yes, they have more connections on the caudate putamen, but something about being a prodigious savant. I've been characterized as such by different people. And, I think that helps. That makes, some people have a natural music talent and others have to train to be as good as someone with that natural talent,
Right.
And I think everyone's got it. Some people have got it a little bit more naturally and easier, but I have to train all the time to keep myself at the highest level and to keep growing and learning. And I'm tenacious. I'm not willing to accept failure, and I don't fail because even if I don't achieve my desired goal, I've learned something every single time. We're not freaking magicians. We're technically, all of us, all humans are kind of like scientists. We're learning from, crashing into, quote, mistakes, and thereby the next time you improve your possibilities and your percentages. And with these abilities, there's a lot of training and a lot of stuff that you can do that can increase those percentages. It's all about percentages, and you can get your percentages to outrageous levels and experience some of the most amazing things possible. And when you do this kind of work and exercise and experiments in a no failure zone, you can afford to dream big and feel like you can fail big. You know, there's no small dreams when you do some of this stuff. I've had to try different things for the first time ever at some point. Yeah. Like, you know, praying for healing. I had to try that for the first time at some point. Bending metal without touching it. I had to try that for the first time, you know, at some point. Moving compasses. I had to try that before, you know, at some point, having never done it before. And you have to just kind of freaking go for it and have faith in yourself. And if you need to create magic feathers for yourself, fine, wear your lucky socks or, you know, whatever. But also there are some scientists who believe that there's a genetic component. I'm related to a famous healer, and also I found out he was an amulet maker named Yisrael Baal Shem Tov. He's one of the big propagators of the Hasidic movement. And he was from the Russian-Polish border. And I've heard from different people that that area seems to have a lot of naturals there and people who can display very high-end abilities.
Oh, shit, that's my problem. The Majerowski part is from the Russian-Polish border. So
so we got some kinship there. But I don't want anyone to believe that they can't do it because they're this, you know, or that or whatever. Everyone can do this. This is part of our natural senses that help us survive.
And you know, I think the bloodline probably has a part of it too. We talked about the female part of it, but the bloodline, and you know, I'm still kind of on the RH negative thing. I don't know if that's going to pan out at all, but that's one of the things that's in the back of my mind. That's like, wow, that's just so weird. Why is that a thing? You know, and I don't know. I just feel like that's probably, you know, part of our, you know, or our lineage, you know, or ancestral DNA that builds up in us or whatever else, or the connection we can make to our ancestors. But, you know, some of the stuff, buddy, that you've been doing has been epic. So like the SkinWalker Ranch stuff, I don't know if you can talk about it or not, but man, you know, Brandon Fugal's been all over Twitter. He's been really forthcoming about a lot of the stuff that's going on. People ask him questions, he answers. You know, there's no bullshit. And he's like, hey, we're not making this like to be, you know, what's the show that's on? They're digging for gold in some island. I can't remember. It's been on for 8 years. You know, he's like, we're not doing that. We're really like try to get to the bottom of it. You know, and
he's spoken very kindly about me on Twitter and acknowledged that I've opened his eyes to things, and I've been blessed to work with the science team there. And Brandon is the nicest guy. He's a real Ronin. He's not owned by the government. He's being completely transparent. He's showing the pictures and the video of craft. He's sharing, you know, even in tweets, frequencies that some of these craft are displaying. He's really a blessing. And that location, as well as others, are really going to help usher in this new age of understanding, because the work that's going on there is staggering. There's amazing stuff that's not in the show, and just staggering stuff is going on there. And their science team is absolutely amazing. And I've been blessed to work with other groups too, and stuff I can't completely, you know, share too much of. But I've been working with an aerospace company, and with this, it's totally separate from that location. We have seen this head of an aerospace company saw a being before I did. And
is this the Shorty guy that I saw? Shorty guy. Wow. Is it like, so like that happened in front of you, right? This guy just showed us up
2 days in a row. And it was at Galileo Park, like the most perfect place, which is a very special park. I mean, it's really, really special. There's been numerous weird experiences there. And we saw him 2 days in a row. He knew our names. He knew who we were. I mean, it's so freaking, oh, did I lose you here?
Yeah, you're back.
It's so off the charts from regular experience that, you know, you almost doubt your sanity. Did someone slip us like, you know, a Mickey in our drink or something like that?
Or is there somebody tapping your phones and just screwing with you? Or are they like sending these people in just to mess with you? Like,
it was such a revolutionary experience for weeks. You're like, oh my God, do you remember this? Or what was this like? And you end up calling each other back and forth. I've had that experience several times with different people I've had extraordinary experiences with, where you just have to kind of check in with each other because it was such a reality expanding event. And the Shorty stuff was just like, it's a whole episode just on that. And I'm going to do someone requested I do another video on that experience. But even recently, I had a contact experience that was like, off the charts, really freaking amazing. And I've had experiences, I've been blessed to have these experiences with other scientists in group. And like this one head of an aerospace company's genius scientist, we went to Huntsville, Alabama to go meet with some scientists there, and I got tested on a bunch of these different machines at this lab. I can't say exactly all the people that were there, but it was some like really, really cool and important people in groups and stuff. And there's a video on my channel of me affecting a shielded compass, and you can hear, if you carefully in the background, you can hear some people and who they were and what groups that were acting as control. And me and this scientist have such this kind of resonance together, and that we just have had such extraordinary experiences. A craft. Hold on a second. There's something's going on with my phone.
The iguana came back.
Hold on. Am I gone? Okay, hold on
yeah. Your picture's just gone. We got the iguana guy, which is cool, by the way. I like the iguana guy. But there you're. That's better.
Okay, you're back. Okay. So we had, after we left that event and experience, being tested on all these machines.
You had like a UFO fly next to you, like next to the car, right?
It's literally circled the truck. It rode on the passenger side, 50 feet, I guess, 50 yards maybe to the right side of the passenger, keeping exact pace with us. And it was so vivid, so extraordinary, such an amazing, bizarre, craft. And it was so undeniable, and it was so obviously, not Earth tech.
Right.
As much as, like the most recent special, secret aircraft that we've seen was the stealth bomber and fighter. And those are 50 years old. So we know there's extraordinary stuff that the U.S. government has that's off the charts.
Right.
This is not, what we saw was not that.
Right.
And it was such an extraordinary experience. And, you can work with people. You can find someone that allows you to be you and
that's the cool thing. But buddy, that's the biggest thing I found in my life is that I've always found people that just let me be me, or they like gravitate to you and like, I like you, and I'm like, okay. And these are the coolest people in your lives. They just come up to you and they just let you be you, and you be you with them, and you make them happy and have fun and or whatever, and you
resonate like those
the forks,
and that creates an energies. These energies that previously couldn't, and stuff starts happening.
Wow. So, buddy, if you and I get together, man, things might get weird.
Weird shit would probably happen. We have so many different similarities and like sensibilities. This scientist is a savant also, and he's no doubt he's a savant. And when we were driving down to go do the tests, I was showing, at the time I was really into affecting machines and lights and different things from a distance, and was turning off lights and stuff like that on
command,
on command basically. And I was really practicing it a lot at that time too, and he picked it up like that.
Wow.
And sometimes you can attribute it to this could be a coincidence. I could this light is annoying me when we're trying to take a break and stop and not drive and want to shut it off, and maybe it just happened to be coincidentally shut off. But if you're able to do that 3 times in a row without any deviation at different locations, without any time separation from you going 3, 2, 1 off, and it goes off, then something really weird's happening. And he was able to pick it up like really fast.
Wow.
And
so it happens, and it happens all the time.
Yeah,
all the time.
And you can find people and places and groups to work with, and if you're able to display this consistently under pressure, while videotaped and while witnessed, you can really help the research. And like Ingo Swan sought out the researchers,
right?
And that's what I've done initially. I sought them out, and I didn't want to be an Uri Geller and be on TV. I don't want to be on a show. I don't want to do that stuff. I don't want to be on the History Channel. I don't want to do that. I want to further the research behind the scenes and share as much knowledge as I can while I'm here. I don't. I have belief systems as to how this stuff works, or some of it works, but I don't know shit, this is just like whole new fucking territory.
Well, some of the things with you brought up Uri Geller, and it was like, and I don't know this at all, but it seems like from all the research that I've done is that, Uri Geller does have an ability to do things, but because of the pressure, because of the things that at some point he had to faking stuff because the pressure was there, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I hear, and that's
definitely true.
Okay.
There's no doubt he's done a lot of sleight of hand and trickery. They've caught stuff on video. He had the natural ability, but he started to doubt himself.
Yeah.
And you find out, sometimes you crash into this. Russell Targ talked about him being a stage magician, and weird shit would happen. And that's kind of what happened with Uri. He found out when he was doing his regular magic that weird shit would happen. And he even shocked the crap out of himself at Stanford University doing some of these things. And, but then he was a little too self-indulgent. And I want to be an Ingo. I don't want to be an Uri,
Right.
Uri Geller came out recently and said some, female, I forget who the leader was at the time. This was a couple years ago. Was going to fail at this attempt to do something. What was it? Brexit, I think it was. Yeah, Brexit.
Oh,
I came out and said that, and he said, I'm going to use my powers of remote influence to stop her, and I was like, you're going to fail big time. It's morally wrong, and I'm going to try and funk you. Mm-hmm. And she did the exact opposite of what he had predicted and tried to remote influence. And he's several times gotten into politics and things like that and said, I'm going to remote influence. And that's terrible. That's terrible stuff. If you look at slide 9.
Yeah. Oh, slide 9 just boggles my mind, man.
Yes. And it says the ability to affect the cognizance of decision makers. That is hardcore. Remote influence is real. It's possible. Just like you can pray and help someone heal, you could do other negative things if you wanted to. But the positive forces, I think, outweigh that negativity any day of the week. Any day of the week. Good. This universe is more matter than antimatter. It's more good than bad. So we always have a natural advantage. Empathy wins.
Oh,
love wins. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was screwed with, man, and I've said it a couple of times, and I've gotten into this, and I've been scared of this whole thing because my dad told me, he's like, the men in black are real. These people show up, they'll take your stuff, and they'll tell you to shut up, or you're going to have an accident. But I was literally I got in the shower. Somehow, I found out that water for me amplifies whatever effect that I'm having or has an effect on me, so I'm in the shower and this voice comes to me. It's like, are you going to be part of this? Or are you going to be with us? Or are you going to be against us? And I'm like, it's directed. Oh, look, there's the iguana.
What is this doing?
Every time.
Your image disappears too, and I disappear, and it goes. There's a little funny thing happens.
Something's happening. But literally, this thing came. It's like, are you going to be with us? Or are you going to be against us? And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, are you fucking? I'm like, if you're real and you know me, and I know who you are, then come to me or tell somebody to come to me and come to me in person. Quit fucking with me and fuck you. And no, I'm not gonna. Not going to fuck with you. And it went away, but it was like straight.
And you know what that could have been? That could have been your belief that could happen, could have amplified as a magic feather to let your subconscious. You know how in dreams, you don't really control your dreams. You can have nightmares. You don't control those.
Right.
It's your subconscious acting out these other belief systems within you. And that can happen. And those things, because of the power of the subconscious to affect space, time, energy, and matter, you can create negative scenarios for yourself. But for me, I don't buy into the negative. I don't allow it into my sphere. I don't believe in, negative energy, and stuff like that. So they can't affect me, and they can be real and affect others. And there's all sorts of other technology, and there's weird stuff the government has done and other countries have done. That stuff exists.
Right.
It's not bullshit.
Right.
And, you can give things power by highlighting them.
Yeah. So quit talking about it.
Exactly. So talk about the
fuck those things. Yeah. No. It was one of those things. But I was just so like, you know what? Fuck that. Fuck. I went back to my streets like, no, fuck you and fuck whoever told you who come over here and get the fuck out of here. And that was it. And that was it. But Yeah, like that was one of the things I learned early on was the Japanese have this belief that the minute they feel like they're getting sick, like a cold or whatever, they just push that out of their mind, completely out of them, and just fucking don't think about it, don't even talk about it, blah, 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 gone, and they don't get sick. And if you look statistically, they're like the least sick people on the fucking planet.
Yeah. You know what? Other people, and this has happened to me, and it's really kind of, to be honest, and crude or vulgar or whatever, it's fucked up. There are people who I've worked with and I've seen stuff and I've been scared of me.
Scared of you?
Yeah, because I've been able to demonstrate something and they think, oh, did you make me sick the other day? I got really sick, when you got upset at me or something. It's like, no, it's your own subconscious doing this stuff. Don't buy into that stuff. You have, your mind has control over your body, and even if someone's trying to affect you, your mind can prevent it because you've got control over not only your body, but this, consciousness has an ability to affect space, time, matter, and energy. And there are people who think, this stuff is satanic. Even Luis Elizondo, the head of the AATIP program, said that his boss thought this stuff was,
the devil. And they just don't research it. It's the devil. That's the devil, right? Yeah, and I mean, that's what they said. It's like it's so hard to break that stigma, to break the.
It is, but our universe is so beautiful. It's interactive. It allows you to use your consciousness to literally affect the rolls of the dice.
It's affected matter and space time, like anything. Like, I mean, when you, I reached out to you a couple of months ago and I was like, buddy, hey, can we hook up? Whatever, let's do it. And, I didn't hear anything. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll let it go. And like, when you just out of the blue, you're like, hey, cool. When do you want to do it? And that second I was like, I had like this moment, and it was like it's so weird, man. I'm just going to tell you how I felt for me was that like, when you said that,
synchronicity.
Yeah, it was just like boom, and all of a sudden everything kind of waved up on top of me like this, like, and it came back, and I was like, oh, I realize how this works. Like, you put out the intention with love and respect, and goodwill and all this stuff, and you really want it to happen, and it happens. And you put that out there. You don't just be like,
so true.
I don't want to talk to you because I'm going to have 400 views on my channel now, and it's like, no, fuck no. It's like, I really want to talk to this guy because I feel like we're on the same wavelength, or, like I have this thing. And like, I was like, wow, this is it. And then it harkens back to what my mom said back when at the video store, Blockbuster, when I was like 14, she's like, you just walk into a room and people just come to you. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like,
that means a few different things though. It's not just your charm. There are people I know who are physically not great looking people necessarily, or not the ideal model, but their personality is so charming and magnetic. They draw people to them.
Right.
It's not just your looks, it's your spirit. And that's why I gave you the compliment at the beginning of the show, because you bring in intellectualism and you bring in approachability, and you will attract and hold the attention of a certain sector of skeptics out there. And by listening to you and hearing your guests and things like that, and you're discriminating about your choices, you're going to help share this important information. And it takes a while. All this new stuff that's coming now is so dynamic, and people have been living in this safe little bubble, where we believe the universe is this way, and therefore I can, go to work every day and not freak out, and worry about the mundane things like, I got a bad breath or my hair's not perfect. All these other things we can afford to think about that. But the second we start to realize how dynamic and different the universe is than just our puny little human senses can detect, the more I think magical stuff starts happening. The more we realize our connection to one, everything, we're all connected. I've used this analogy before that, a tree from above in like 2 dimensions looks very weird. There's an apple over here, a monkey over here, a bird over here, a branch over here, and they all look separate.
Right.
But if you look at the tree from the side in 3D, you'll see.
Oh, there's a lizard. It happens every time we need it to happen, buddy.
The second we're about to talk about something interesting, it's like, and if you look at the tree from the side, you notice that everything is connected, and it's connected by branches that meet at hubs, and the branches get bigger and wider, and there's less and less entropy, and till finally you get to one trunk where everything is connected. And that's how our universe is kind of structured, I think, in many ways. The past is living and alive and supports the now. Now couldn't exist if the past wasn't living and alive on some level, and when you really believe that, you realize that every deed you do is recorded on the fabric of space-time. If someone you know and love has passed away, you are forever in those moments in the past with them. Those moments have not disappeared. They're not gone. They exist forever. And, for me, I'm always holding my mom's hand as we go for a walk, or I'm always doing wonderful things with my mom, or I'm always kissing that girl I always loved, forever in those moments. And so every action you do is really important because they last forever on space-time, and, you've got this precious little time here. You might as well go for it. Have fun. Don't let other people drag you down, and explore this weirdness, because we've been given such a magical, interactive universe. It's mind-boggling.
Dude, it's so amazing. I love you, buddy. Seriously, man.
Well, I used to be a dick. I'm a little better now. When I was young, I was more of a, we all go through these learning.
Oh, I was an asshole a lot for it too, man. Nobody's perfect, man. But like, we get there. We get there. We totally get there. There's like this finite amount of information that comes to you. I've had these weird things happen to me where I've been standing up at a corporate thing. I do information security, so I've been standing up in front of a bunch of fucking people that need to make decisions and all this stuff. And I've planned on this presentation for weeks, and I've gone through all this shit. And I get up there, and somebody else starts talking. It's just blah, 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 and I stand outside myself, and I'm like, holy shit. And I'm looking around at these people, and this guy is going blah, 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 blah. And it go, and I come back in, and I'm like, did that make any sense? And everybody's like, that was fucking amazing. And I'm like,
it's really cool.
I have no idea what the fuck happened.
It's like the martial artist who trains one move over and over and over and over again until it becomes instinct. Oh my gosh, what happened? Okay,
that's it. You're back.
Until it becomes instinct, and then when you actually get in a fight, it just happened. You're like, holy crap! I just choked that guy out, or I karate chopped him out of freaking nowhere.
Yeah,
and that's the case with a lot of these abilities too. Is it?
That's what I was thinking. Is that the same thing where you just kind of train and you practice, and then it just happens to you?
Yeah, with stand-up comedy, I did a lot of stand-up comedy, and I would be nervous every single time before I went up on stage. And I'm nervous now every time I do one of these tests, or people are eyeballing me and I'm supposed to deliver something, weird. But it was the same thing with comedy. I'd be nervous as heck backstage.
Yeah.
But after I get past the first second or two, and I get out of my conscious mind and that self-reflective, negativity, and I just let the subconscious thing that I've trained and programmed all the jokes into, it just comes out like, I'm playing a part, like Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage.
Dude, that's it. How do you I think it's just how to figure out how to get in that, and then just have fun and have love, and just
so simple. We end up fighting it so much.
And we do. It's just the thing. You're just like, because yesterday or the day before, somebody asked me to do a remote viewing session for them. They were just like, just put it out there. Hey, can you do this RV thing? And I'm like, man, I haven't done it in a while. All right, cool, I'll do it. So the first one I did, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Fuck this. Okay, all right, focus on the shit now. I'm like, it's pretty much the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing. And I gave it to her, and she was like, wow, this is amazing. This is spot on. I'm like, I felt like it sucked really bad because
you hate it. It's so, you don't know until you know, and everything is much clearer and more comfortable, in hindsight. I've had so many experiences where I was called to do something, that I felt it was important. And, I would hate that answer that came out, that Gestalt that I know I've learned I have to listen to, no matter how goofy it is or weird it is or whatever it says.
You're like, time machine volcano? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. And then you find out, oh my gosh, there was a time machine volcano.
Yeah. But see, okay. So I have a note, and this is one of the things, like Omar. One of the things that I saw on one of your feeds was like, Omar asked you to astral project some fucking thing. Is that kind of one of those things that happened for you too? Like this guy was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, do this," and you were like,
he was a skeptic from Twitter and wanted to challenge me. I get a lot of people who do that. Kickadoo is another guy who I didn't know and asked me to try it. And I did 3 targets dead on for Kickadoo. And he did a great testimonial video. And Omar was the same thing. He just gave me the numbers. I got nothing. I didn't get, it's a location or it's an object or whatever. And
right.
The degree of accuracy that happened with that one was just freaking ridiculous.
It was like Hathor. Like you nailed like a bunch of stuff on that Omar one.
It's ridiculous. Another example is I worked with this scientist guy. I'm not going to, and Lance Munguia. And Lance Munguia was doing some stuff and learning about my story and stuff. And they challenged me 3 times. They tested me 3 times and had the most weirdest stuff where I was naming the targets. Naming them. And you're not supposed to name them.
You're not supposed to be like, hey, that's the Eiffel Tower. Or like, that's
exposed wires bent at 90 degrees. And it was exposed wires bent at 90 degrees. Your wife is drinking a red wine right now. And, honey, what are you drinking? Red wine.
What?
It's, and you learn to go with that Gestalt. And there's all these little tricks, just like anything that you develop as a skill, you learn a lot of little things that help.
Right.
And for me, I've done a lot of nothingness meditations and done a lot of meditative work and getting to nothingness, into that realm of the subconscious with a lot of impediments and difficulties, with sounds in the background, with Bronx music, with balancing under pain, all these different type of situations. And I can still find that blank space, that nothingness space really fast.
There it is.
And
it comes when we need it to, buddy. It does.
And this is not new either, too. I mean, I've had a bunch of electronic weirdness happen. I can tell you oodles of stories. And there's lots of ways to train that ability.
Oh, yeah. I always thought it was... That's what I always thought. I always blamed it on... Because every time I say that guy's name, it's like Candyman. And all of my shit just starts going fucking crazy. I don't know who that... I mean, I know who that guy is, just through the things or whatever, but just the people I talk to and the people that interact with him, I'm like... how does this fucking happen? Like every time now watch, something's gonna blow up.
Also too, he might be acting as a magic feather for you.
Oh, it could be.
Even though I do know him, I've acquainted with him, I've spoken with him, many times. And maybe we should keep this part, but I can tell you a bunch of things. And
I'll cut this part off. I'm sorry, but as soon as the lizard happens, I'll just cut it out. But that dude, it doesn't matter. He doesn't freak me out. It's just like, why is he in my head?
But I've worked with a lot of these people, or spoken with them, had relationships with them, and they all can provide deep insights. John Alexander, the famous, John Alexander, researched a lot of this stuff. He gave me like amazing advice and stuff. And, there's so many resources out there where you can learn so much about this stuff. You can, if we taught our kids how to empathize, and that empathy gave them magic powers, we wouldn't have a single school shooting again. And right now, when we're in this age of transition where so many amazing things.
Transition to the lizard. But you're right. We need to. Yeah.
So many amazing things are going to be happening to us. And these things and incredibly powerful possibilities can destroy us, or they can propel us into the future that we dream possible. And, it takes all of us, even I used to think that, because of the sociopaths and the evil, greedy bastards and a lot of these different natures of humanity, that we're not going to make it,
Right.
We're in this horrible mass extinction and blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. But,
right.
Technology grows faster than enlightenment does. And
that's a hindrance.
We're getting help.
It
is a hindrance, but we're getting helped. We're getting guided. Disclosure is not happening because the DOD is releasing the videos. The disclosure is happening because they are making it incontrovertible. They're doing more fleets now and more interactions with the military and all these different things that make you can't deny it anymore. And they are the ones forcing disclosure and helping to write our script. And
so that's great, because that's honestly how I feel. But at some point, the people like Chris Bledsoe and like all these people that have like these dramatic, massive experiences and ongoing. Chris Bledsoe posted stuff earlier today. These orbs just dropping out of the sky right in front of his pond, and he's got a camera on it and stuff. It's like, this is amazing. And John Alexander and all these people out of his place, and all of the government, all these people that are paying attention to him, and it's like, I got to believe this is happening to people in Rwanda, in like
it's happening
everywhere, right?
If you look in a lot of the sutras, if you look in 2,000-year-old stuff from a lot of the Buddhists, from Nagarjuna, you'll hear about, if you walk the path of virtue, these abilities and these incidents become vistas, almost a distraction to the path of virtue. You can get, intoxicated by the abilities, or you can get diverted from the path of virtue. And so they almost look at these things as negatives. But the more you follow the path of virtue, when you think about it, the more you are selfless, the more you are connected to everything else. And you're connected to the great oneness. And so that's part of the path of virtue. But Nagarjuna said, if you still your mind like the surface of a lake, you can reflect the universe. And it's so much about a lot of it is the path of virtue and selflessness. The less you're focused on you, the more you can do that tuning fork magical thing with everything.
Yeah. And it's so hard for people, because everybody's just all about them. And like, I want to get the new Nikes and like all this other shit. And, it's just so hard.
Technology is so sociopathic. It makes people look at themselves, me here, me over here, me over here, me having dinner, me on the beach, my dog, my new thing I bought. When it's really about you. And about that, and about that, and about all of us being one. There was this big trend with our last president about nationalism, and it's separative. It's not about that. When you look at the global pandemic, we realize that it's about us. We're all humans. And when you look at the ET subject, just like Reagan said, it will bring us all together.
Right. There it is again.
ET subject. What?
It brings us all together. But no, that's it. I mean, I think we're getting to the age of awareness. Enlightenment is upon us. I think that there's a force that we are picking up on. It's kind of like a radio that you can't tune in all the way, but it's starting to come in. It's like, I kind of hear it.
Script has a direction. There's like this 100th monkey effect that happens where it's almost as if something it's inevitable. Pyramids were inevitable for humans to build all over the world. Not because someone came and said, you got to build pyramids in the Mayan culture, and you've got to build pyramids in Egypt. No, I think humans, it became like a 100th monkey effect. Once you get to a certain point, it becomes a natural structure to build. And it just seems like there's, many layers to this onion. There are people behind the scenes. There's stage managers. We're, all the world's a stage, and we're the players, but there's also stage managers.
There's producers over here and light grips and everybody's happening. Everybody's got a part, right?
Yeah, and we don't even know, who's backstage and who the audience is, and all these different aspects of it. But
guys like you and I are just in it. We're just doing it, right? But more than you, man. And I want to tell you, I applaud you for all you do. I mean, you live in New York. You go and help people that are just, are having the worst part of their entire lives, and you try to turn their entire lives around, and you do it. You fucking do it every day. You do it every day with nothing. I know, but man, you sacrificed a lot of your shit. You just said, fuck it, I'm going to do this. You gave up everything you had, and you moved to New York, and you lived in your truck, and you hung out with, and just did it. And you help people, and these people are living lives that'll affect a million other lives from here on out, man. And I applaud you for that. And
how much of a blessing it is for me, and also a sense of responsibility when someone needs a healing or wants a healing, and they allow you into this like sacred space of their pain and their difficulties and all these different things. And I just wish I could do better work, and more of it, and help people believe more and help the kids believe more, because I believe the future, there's going to be a lot of adversity, and human kids and the humans of the future are going to need every ounce of human potential they have. And they don't need judgment zones. Our kids need no judgment zones.
Mm-hmm.
We will have not only more empathetic, more, magical humans, but we'll have better architects. We'll have better scientists. We'll have better everything.
Better humans.
Yes.
Better humans.
Yes. If we uplifted each other, and so many different things that I think are part of enlightened races. I don't think advanced races eat other animals. I don't think advanced races have monetary systems. I don't think they separate themselves from each other. I think they try to unify. We know symbiotic relationships. Great, I hear neighbor jamming music too. We know symbiotic relationships are more productive than parasitic relationships.
Right.
So
it's all there. It's all there. And I don't know, man. Like, I think that we're at a precipice.
We are. It feels like we are getting. It feels like we're getting handed the car keys. And when your kid learns to drive, they get a massive new responsibility.
Right.
There's this massive new responsibility. They could kill people with their vehicle, and they have to rise to the occasion of all these responsibilities that are inherent with driving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we are. We have to drive into space, and we have to rise to the responsibilities that are inherent in being a spacefaring species. And we've been given a lot of help. They've crashed craft on every continent.
Hey, here you go.
Yeah. Gifted.
Gifted.
And, we can either make hypersonic, invisible to all radar, metamaterial, nuclear weapons, or we can make craft that preserves. That's the insurance policy for our glorious biosphere. The more we have different colonies out in space, the more humanity and our bio systems and circles have an insurance policy in case a gamma ray burst or another pandemic, or all sorts of possible things that wiped out all the previous mass extinctions. So we're at a special point, man. It's cool to be alive now.
It totally is. The thing that gets me a lot about a lot of this stuff is that there's so many different, not only earthly factions we can just forget about for a minute. Think about the ET factions. Just like earthly factions, we have people that care about different aspects of reality. So if we have like 5 million different ET aspects that care about our reality or want to influence our reality, that's happening all the time. They're crashing stuff. There's this different, so who do you, and to me, it's like, well, what do you resonate with? Like you said, the tuning fork. Well, who do you hit with that resonates with you on that level?
You just be you, the best you can be, and that will resonate with the best of those, and the ones that want to interact with you or not. It's like in regular life, you can't worry about how other people think of you. If you spend your time doing that, you're wasting your precious time on this planet. Be the best you that you can be, and it'll fit into the universe. You know what I mean? You don't have to change the universe so you fit into it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I quit caring about people, what people thought about me back in high school.
You have to. You kind of have to.
I don't give a shit what you people think of me. I'm just going to do me, right? But a lot of people get hung up in that.
Jacket.
Yeah, everybody gets hung up in that, though. I mean, it's really hard because of the societal structures and all the things. And I'm like, is that a control thing, or is that just everybody just trying to make it happen for themselves? Is it a planned obsolescence where everybody's like, oh, you have to wear the members only jacket, or you're not the good guy? And I think
it's part of a learning curve. It's part of a learning curve. You have to learn why something's wrong before you really appreciate doing the right thing.
Of course.
And, I've had a lot of talks with Linda Moulton Howe.
Yeah.
And she's very, not mystified, but very curious why there's so many dark forces in the universe, but there's this kind of balance, you can't appreciate the yin without the yang.
As above, so below, right? Yeah. The whole thing.
Yeah. And you need to have negative experiences out there so you can really appreciate the good experiences. And it kind of sucks, but I think, as races get more advanced, we can change our environments more and more, and we can make things better for all of us. That's a real powerful skill and ability. Humans have been able to transform reality to make reality a lot more comfortable for us and convenient and faster and everything. But we're still really insatiable.
Yeah, I heard a podcast about you talking about like it used to take forever to go across the river in New York, right? Like
exactly,
it would take like a long fucking time, and now that you're on a subway underneath the river going like 3 minutes, you're like, God, this is forever.
Oh yeah. Or if you had told someone 300 years ago, you will be standing in the air, 300 feet above the river, flying across the river, they'd be like, you know how long it took to cook food? You had to get the coals and do all that stuff. Now we're complaining about the 30 seconds it takes in a microwave. But that same insatiability is our drive to go into space and our drive to make technology more and more powerful. And it's a dangerous, precarious time. And society needs, the wackadoodles and the,
shamans like you.
Yeah, they need both sides. They need a little bit of everything. And I've been blessed to kind of give up on the self-indulgent things I needed to explore to find the power of selflessness and the powers of selflessness. And it's amazing. It's amazing. I've always wanted to try and walk the path of some of the really incredible people I admired. I wondered, how did Jesus eat every day? Or how did Muhammad survive every day? Or how did, John the Baptist? Or how did, this famous rabbi survive every day who chose the path of poverty? Or
and
how
Buddha, like what? Who's feeding Buddha? Because he's not look like he's missing any meals,
right?
You know what I mean? Somebody's feeding Buddha. But you're right, because I think that whatever that resonates out and it hits the other tuning forks of the other humans that are awesome, and it comes to you, man.
It sure does. It's so amazing. This universe, I'm just so impressed with it more and more. I used to think it was constrictive and difficult to do everything, and now I realize how you can harmonize with things, and your wishes can come true, and you can make wishes come true, and you can do amazing things you never even thought possible. Stuff I can't even talk about because it just sounds so absolutely nutty. And I've never have heard voices. I've never had any psychological issues. Never, had, psychological medicine or any,
right.
Psychological events.
You've had like scientific like people that are the top of their field from all of the fields on top of you, and the most amazing weird shit has happened, and they were like.
I'm so blessed.
So blessed. And
I'm
you know
so
what I mean? Like, it's like,
I've worked with some of the big names, people we've spoken about briefly here, others, even great people like, Dr. Gallenberger, who I've worked with on PK and learned a bunch of different things. I turned $300 into 3,200 just in Vegas. Because, all the lottery machines and a lot of those different other games and stuff are essentially like random number generators. And he's one of the few practitioners from the Monroe Institute who not only teaches these abilities and tries to understand the science behind it, but he's a practitioner, a successful practitioner who's been tested in laboratories.
Wow.
So you can get amazing lessons. You can, there's a lot of incredible Chinese monks and Buddhist monks, and there's so many different fields from Hindu masters to Jewish, mystics to all of them, and they all kind of circle around the same subjects.
Yeah, and that's for me, for like the whole Freemasonry thing came into play for me. Like that's kind of my angle and all of that stuff. It's like when I fell into Freemasonry, when I kind of got into it, I was like, holy shit, I've been here before. This makes sense. This is kind of, and to me, this is my working theory, is that at some point, all of these different religions and all of the different mystery schools or esoteric knowledge schools are like, we need to, people are going to kill us if we have this stuff. We need to put it somewhere. Hey, can you guys hang on to that? Cool. All right, we got to go. And then
I've had a theory that, after the burning of the Library of Alexandria, all of that knowledge, all the people who cared about knowledge, they could have said, you know what, this is never going to happen again. We're going to seek out knowledge as the most important thing in society. We're going to create this secret group that I won't interact with, and no one will reveal that this secret group exists. And we're going to pursue knowledge as the primary goal, because knowledge is the most valuable thing there is. It's more valuable than gold or diamonds. Knowledge is power.
Totally.
And we could have a breakaway civilization that's 200 years scientifically more advanced than us, living right here, right now.
Yeah.
We could have there's all sorts of different weird possibilities,
Ultra terrestrials. Yeah. They could be hanging out just with
a lot of possibilities, my friend. It's so freaking cool to explore this stuff. We're at such a cool time. Galileo saw stuff that no one ever saw before.
And then they tried to burn him.
And he went blind. The guy who saw further than anyone else went blind in jail. And now we're able to see things, and some of us are able to see things that no one else sees yet, and that will become the future science. It's pretty cool to be where we are. We're so freaking blessed, John. And I'm thankful for these opportunities to be able to share my perspective for whatever it's worth. And I'll always help if anyone wants to write me at alienprotocols@gmail.com. I teach everything for free. I never charge for anything. We'll never accept donations. If you try to give them around healing issues, we'll accept donations otherwise, but never charge for anything. I think a lot of the neon light psychics have really damaged,
ruined
the
whole messed up.
We take every healing really seriously.
Yeah.
And we've heard so many miraculous stories, and we can't claim any credit for anything. But
no. Yeah,
so many different factors and incalculable factors. And God does the,
Oh, yeah.
I heard a great pastor say, God has tremendous power in his hands. The problem is you are his hands. And, we've been a part of so many crazy miracles. I mean, I could tell you about like the guy Malik, who I just met from here in the Bronx. And Malik had stage 3 prostate cancer, and it's stage 3 prostate cancer is no joke.
Yeah.
And he's in complete remission. He's doing great. He had a rough time for a little bit, but we've had so many amazing stories from cancer recoveries to, cancers on the lip disappearing in a day, like literally falling off.
I saw the picture of that. Yeah.
People recovering hearing. They're going to several doctors saying you'll never improve, and the healing improving, the women's hair coming back, all sorts of different things. It's so amazing just to be a part of that, just to be able to witness miracles, and I think so much of it is believing in the possibility, the person, the patient, and others praying for it. Love does
amazing work. But dude, that's kind of where it brought me to you, man. Like, cause I knew about you, but like John Luke told me, like, hey, Buddy kind of helped out, and I was like, well, fuck yeah. So, Dad's back. It's cool, and I'm so thankful to know you, my man.
Oh, it's my honor. It's my honor, and I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing. More people need to hear about this stuff. More people need to hear the reality of this stuff, and how cool is it that we can be a part of this universe, and we can interact with it in ways that we were never told we could.
No, it's been hidden from us forever.
Yes, even though it's been talked about in sacred knowledges and different sutras and different religions and secret societies. But this stuff is real, and it's amazing, and you can do wonderful things. You can heal people that don't even know that you're praying for them.
Exactly. Yeah. Or you can make contact with entities that don't even exist on our level, right?
And and the most important thing is to be balanced in all this stuff, because as you start to explore this stuff, synchronicities start happening. Weird shit starts happening.
Yeah. Don't get freaked out. Don't get freaked out, right? I mean, you can't.
And as intoxicating as it is to be a part of this stuff, nothing's more important than loving people,
Yes,
and helping people who are around you and being part of the reality that we're in, so there's got to be a balance. And,
yes.
I'm looking forward to the future, John, and doing more work with you and getting to know you, and, anyone who needs any help with anything, it'd be our pleasure and honor to help with. And, there's so many people who helped me get to even just this point. I owe, lifetimes worth of a debt to. So I consider myself like a piece of all the people who helped me.
Totally.
And, carrying that baton, and I have a lot to live up to. And I just want to do better, more, But we'll see. We'll see what the universe
You're doing
does.
good. You can hand me a little bit of the baton, and I'll help you along the way. And whatever I can do to help, man, I got it. And whatever I can do to help, I'm right there with you, man. And I appreciate you more than you know. And I'm so excited to learn from you and get into this. And man, it's going to be such a wild ride.
Let's chat soon. And, if any of your listeners want any help or advice or anything, just email. I may not get back to you immediately. Sometimes I'm involved in weird stuff, and it may take me a little bit to circle back. But by the time we do connect, it'll be when it was intended to be. So, John, and then, off the air, John, we need to work on some stuff. So, I'm excited for those possibilities and to see more synchronicities and stuff happen with you. You're already hooked in and connected. So it's going to be an easy click on for you.
I love you, buddy, man. I'm gonna kill it now, and then everybody else can just guess about what we're gonna talk about.
Exactly right.